Oh, alright everyone, WeaponCollector here. Right, today's film review is about the Blob. So, hopefully you've watched this by now, and we can have a talk about it. So, the Blob is a remake of I think it's a 1950s film, possibly of Steve McQueen. I've never actually seen the original, although I would like to. And I may have to do that one day. So the remake is 1988, partly written by Frank Darabont, which was a surprise to me. I didn't actually know that. 135 minutes long, and is a Chuck Russell film. Now I'm unaware of other Chuck Russell films, but I may have to look into that, see what other ones there are, because The Blob is actually a really good film. So it stars Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith, playing the two main characters. I'll tell you the plot. So the two main characters are, you got Meg, who is the sort of homecoming queen type, head cheerleader type, but not a sort of slaggy one, if you know what I mean, like a posh one. And then you got Kevin Dillon as Brian Flagg, who is the sort of tearaway, local sort of troublemaker, probably been expelled from school or a dropout or something like that. And then there's also another character who's like the local jock. And a meteor hits, Tramp finds it while he's flattening some cans, and goes to see what's inside the meteor and gets the blob on his hand, and then he sort of gets taken over by it, and then the rest of the film is sort of people being killed by the blob, obviously, and Brian and Meg trying to stop it. But yeah, I think this was quite a panned film originally, but it's turned into a cult classic. I've always loved it. I've always thought it was brilliant. And I'll tell you one thing, I think some of the special effects in this film are probably nearly on par to some of the special effects you see in The Thing. Saying about The Thing, the other thing I like about the Blob, the opening titles are quite similar to The Thing as well. But yeah, it's a good classic 1980s horror, sci-fi horror. What I like about the older Star films is you actually like the characters. You know, all of the characters you're supposed to like, you like. I can remember the very first time I saw the end of the Blob, when you think Brian's possibly going to die, and the scene with Meg in the sewers when she can't get through the bars. I can actually remember the first time I ever watched it and being, oh no, fucking hell, I hope they don't die. Do you know what I mean? You know, because I really like those characters, and you actually do care about them, which is what I like. Makes a change to actually, well, it doesn't make a change, but that's the thing with the older films. You do tend to know who you're supposed to like and who you're not supposed to like, whereas a lot of new films, it can be a bit of both. It can be, you know, you don't know who you're supposed to like and stuff like that. My favourite scene, the one I've always loved in this, and not a massive part of it, but it does lead up to something else, is the very first, the intro to Brian Flagg on his motorbike when he's trying to do the jump. Because when he jumps and then the tramp claps him when he's on the floor, clapping him, I've always found that absolutely hilarious, that bit. It makes me laugh out loud, that does. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I always laugh at that. But then that's leading up to a bit later when he actually does do the jump, and then when he makes the jump and he turns around and goes, as he's riding off. I love that bit. The condom scene is very funny as well. That one always makes me laugh. When his mate's going to get the condom, and then he starts talking to Meg's dad and saying, well, you know, you would have watched it anyway. But yeah, that's a very good scene, that bit. Very funny. This does have some good comedy in it. And the bit with Matey in the car with his bloody cocktail bar in his trunk, or his boot as we would call it. Yeah, that is funny. And I think the girl in that is Donna D'errico in it from baywatch, I think, later. that made me laugh, that scene, 'cause it's funny watching these films from the 80s and that, what was deemed, well, that wasn't deemed acceptable, but you probably wouldn't, if you saw a scene like that, that was shown innocently, the sort of putting his hand in the top bit, if you know what I mean. Nowadays, that would be you know, a proper crime that you would potentially get done for, although he died anyway. The effects in that bit are very good. But yeah, the people who did the special effects in this film did a very good job on the majority of them. I do think a lot of it does compare to not totally, but it does come, you know, some of it comes close to the thing. But yeah, overall, very enjoyable film. As I said, you like the characters in it, good pacing. I can't think of any boring bits in it. You really like the characters. Yeah, it's one of those that I've always liked. So I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I always have. That's partly why I wanted to do this film club, to introduce people to some films that they may not have seen. But yeah, The Blob is way up there with some of my favourites, definitely. So let me know what some of your favourite scenes were. You know, as I said, definitely had a lot of good gore, lots of funny bits, you know, sad bits, but yeah, special effects are good, aren't they? Yeah, but I don't think there's any, the music's quite good. There are a couple of scenes in it that are, the effects aren't brilliant. I think that's mostly the ones where they've had to make the blob big, so they've had to have like a bit of blob close to the camera and do a forced perspective thing. But it doesn't look bad. Yeah, overall, I've always really liked the Blob. Yeah, well worth watching. So, as I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll let you know what the next film is coming up in a minute. So, don't forget to discuss this. Don't forget to like the video, and I'm gonna have to sort my hand out, I reckon. Before you leave, if you ever wanted to support this channel, you can now via Patreon or by shopping at Amazon.com and Gearburst. There's more info below if you need that. Remember, if you want to get full notifications for this channel, click the bell, and I'll see you later. Cheers.